work so you can play.
MiniWarGaming Dan here from MiniWarGaming.com. Here to conclude the Ork Tactica about Boyz. And now Boyz talked about squads of 30, squads of 20. My favorite, squad of 12. Why 12? Well, minimum is 10, max is 30. Max in a truck is 12. And so why would you ever bring 10? You just bring 2 extra boys. They come along for the ride, have some good times. Now a truck, first of all, I love the model. Mine are always like beat up and they're all pretty different, but they're just, I thought they were really fun to build. I like modeling, so some people think they're a little weird and awful to build, but I love them. Joe's has tape all over his. It all depends on what you like, right? It works. But trucks, they're just so fast. They're fast vehicles. They're open topped. You can get your boys into combat faster with trucks than really in any other way, reliably. Now, if you deep strike a bunch of boys, that's another story. But like with a weird boy, you know, and then the second turn maybe, but they can run. Trucks, just stick with trucks. Now they're small. This makes them very fragile. So you have to be very careful. You have to coddle your orcs a bit more. And they're still tough to a lot of armies, but they can still just die if they're cut out in the open too much. Now trucks, you want to keep them just right beside terrain. You just always up against the terrain, always cover save if at all possible. If you have a custom force field in your army, great, run them along custom force field. But what you want to make sure is that at least trucks can't be taken alone. You have to take them in bulk. At least 3. I take 4. Eventually I'll get up to 6. But 4 I think is a pretty good number. 2 works, but I would recommend working your way to 3 if you have less than that. Because one of them will get probably shot down first turn. They're very high priority targets. They know what they can do. No one wants orc boys charging their units. No one. Unless you're Daemons and you're like, come on, charge me, please. But that's another story. So, orc boys again with a furious charge. Charge is super important, and that's what trucks enable you to do. Trucks can move 12 and deploy units, or they can move 18 in 1 round. And so you just kind of get that idea of how many freaking inches you can move throughout the game. And if they're not shot down first turn, or if you completely come under cover, that's great. Now essential, we've talked about boys. We want the knob, boss bolt, power claw. Same as always, you definitely want that in your army. You probably don't want shootas with your truck boys, because shootas, well, they're meant for shooting. And sluggas, well, they're meant for slugging. And that's what trucks are all about. Getting up in your face. So, you want slugga boys. You don't want a big shooter because you don't have shootas. Probably don't want a rocket. And so you just want slim, nice, and where your upgrades are is actually for your truck. Now trucks, just like any orc vehicle, and we'll do vehicle tactica, but trucks, the only thing you need to know is you want your reinforced ram. That allows you to re-roll dangerous terrain tests, which makes it super, super rare that your truck's get immobilized. And so it doesn't matter if it's open, or like some people argue that if the map is too open, that orcs have an advantage because you can just charge, there's nothing hindering you. And then you want more terrain to get fire points and all that stuff. But with trucks, bring on the terrain, because you can just run right over it. You can just hide behind it, run over it. Like you can use terrain to your advantage so much with trucks. Like even more so than any other way with orcs. Because you're not afraid of it. Terrain is your friend. They have a hard time getting over it. You just boost over it. You just move your regular 12 inches, just boom. Optional is a red paint job. You get the extra inch. Sometimes it comes into play. It's really important. Usually you're within range. Most games. I usually don't buy it. I can usually use my points on something else. But if you're wondering, if you have just those few extra points, you're not sure what to add on because you're maxed out in boys in your trucks, take the red paint job. It's not gonna hurt more than it helps. That's for sure. Now there's like all these like boarding planks and there's a million different things you can take for vehicles. Ignore them all. You don't want it hard cased, you don't want it closed topped, because when it's not open topped, you can't move and then charge out of it. You can't move, deploy, and then charge. So you definitely don't want that. So honestly, reinforced ram, maybe red paint job, that's it. Nice, sleek, awesome army, and then you bring more of them. You have more points for more boys, for more Tactica, more slugger, more death, more. It's awesome. So, let's take a look. Okay, so this is an example of how far this truck can assault reliably this far away. Okay, so how often are you like, that's really, really, really far. I'm safe. Or they're safe, like, doesn't matter how much terrain's in the way. So, first of all, truck moves 12. Comes right on. Then the orcs deploy out. Now, when a unit deploys out, you get 2 inches. So you just make their base touch that 2-inch mark. And as long as they're touching it, that's good. So you get 2.5, almost 3 more inches because of that. And then, so the whole squad will go there. Let's put a bunch of boys there. There you go. Power claw up front, of course. And then, easily within charge range. If you guys can see that. It's like 5.5 inches. And so they charge in. Some guys will be left behind. They'll probably get back here, but they have to charge back in and they have to try to get into combat. And so all your boys will be in combat. And boys against Marines are good because the Marines will stop a lot, they'll kill a bunch, but then the power claw will almost guaranteed kill a bunch more. And so you want that. If you hold a Waaagh this turn, that's an extra D6 inches added to that movement. And so all of a sudden the entire board becomes your playing ground and you can reach anyone by turn 2, turn 3 latest. A word of caution with truck boys. If there's, say you're fighting orcs versus orcs and there's a group of 30 boys, you don't want to charge that truck boys into those 30 boys. Not alone at least. Maybe if you have 2 squads, that's more doable, but you can't charge big squads with the truck boys unless you're in synchronization with the others. Luckily, most things in 40K aren't in huge numbers. Actually, if they're gaunts, you can charge gaunts. That's no problem. Big squad gene stealers, no, not so much. But most big hordes, you just want to stay away from with truck boys unless you can get multiple at the same time. They're more for like insurgents, and I almost forgot, a reinforced ram also gives you the ability to tank shock, even though it's not a tank. So normally tanks can tank shock, great. A truck is just a truck, it's just open top, fast little crappy dinky thing. But you have a reinforced ram, you can now tank shock. And so you can push through sometimes those units that come up to block you. Say like Gretchen, for example, like I was saying, Gretchen can be used that you have to deal with those guys. But then you just burrow through the Gretchen. They may have to move out of the way, or if they feel their ship run away, whatever. It's good either way. You pile up behind them, and then you could do assault the squad that you want. They're almost like assassins. Like truck boys are like ninja boys, okay? And this is where probably the best reason to upgrade, the one last upgrade I haven't mentioned, which is almost like a separate unit. You can only bring 1 squad per army. They're Ard boys. Ard boys cost a bunch more points. It's significantly more. Not quite as expensive as Storm boys, but they're Ard boys. They get a 4+ cover save instead of, not cover save, 4+ armor save, instead of just the normal T-shirt 6+. And so with that, they're a lot more resilient in combat, but most shooting takes away that 4+ save. And so you don't want to give them to your big squads of boys because you want them in cover anyways, and the cover is just as good. And they get into combat okay, it could be useful, but most likely they'll get shot up and it'll become a complete waste of points. Truck boys, however, will not get shot up as much statistically, just, more consistently they'll keep out of combat until they keep out of getting shot up till they get into combat. Okay, so you just get them in, they get burrowed in, you have that 4+ save now, they're doing a lot more damage, they're a lot more survivable, you can charge those more robust units a little more often now. But that's about it for Boyz. Okay, they're amazing, they're fantastic, they're the core of your army. They capture objectives, they kill everything. There is not one unit in the game that a squad of Boyz cannot kill, nor is like great at killing.